Hello there. Today I'm fortunate enough to be at the fabulous Ornellaia estate in Bolgheri, on the coast in Tuscany in Italy. And you're probably thinking, well, if you're at Ornellaia, why do you have a white wine in your glass? So here I'm looking at a wine I've never tried before. This is the Ornellaia Bianco. It's the 2021 vintage of that. So Ornellaia has for a long time grown Sauvignon Blanc. And this is a wine that's 100% Sauvignon Blanc. It comes from 3 small plots. The first vintage that a white Ornellaia was produced was 2013. So there's a reasonable track record now. And it's not a wine that's made in large quantities. I think they probably make 1,000 cases or so a year. So by comparison to the production of red, the white production is tiny. Again, a 2021, so from a really warm vintage, one where temperatures were slightly above normal. There was very little rainfall during the growing season, so healthy fruit was harvested. Fruit set and flowering were very consistent, and harvest took place relatively early. For the Sauvignon Blanc, it started on the 18th of August and had finished by the middle of September. Everything here was hand-picked, there was careful selection, and then the fruit was chilled prior to pressing. Everything was being done to protect it against oxidation, so picking was into shallow trays. Pressing was done very gently, so whole bunch pressing giving lovely clean juice, that juice being allowed to settle for 24 hours before fermentation took place in oak. Fermentation occurred not just in barriques, but also in 320 to 600 litre barrels, and also what are called cigar barrels. Style of barrel pioneered by the late Didier Daguignou for his silex, so a long, thin barrel. After fermentation, malolactic conversion was blocked and the wine stayed in barrel with its yeast lees for 10 months, with fairly regular batonnage being applied. After 10 months, the wine was blended, was put into tank to marry for a couple of months. It was bottled with a light fining, and the bottled wine was allowed to rest in the cellars for a further 6 months prior to release. So let's have a look at it, shall we? I mean, that's a pale to medium yellow colour. The wine says it has 13.5% alcohol on its label. It's not particularly forming, oh yeah, it's just starting to form some tears on the side of the glass there, but it's not doing so massively readily. Let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? The aromas are actually opened quite slowly. I had a sniff of this earlier, and this really is starting to show much more pungency. There are delicate notes of passion fruit, of pea pod, of asparagus. Generally the sort of the slightly riper end of the greener spectrum for Sauvignon Blanc. I'm not fully getting mango notes yet. That you get with very ripe Sauvignon. So let's have a taste and see what we make of that. The wine is of midway. It's smooth, it's lovely smoothness. You can note the plushness it's been given by the batonnage, by the stirring of the lees there. Just sort of rounded out the back palate there. There are some of the sort of crisper notes of Sauvignon there. There are hints behind the leesy, creamy smoothness it's got of nettle and cut grass, but they're just the slightest hint. There are touches of passion fruit, but that's not overly perfumed. The wine aged in barrel, and about 70% of that was older oak. The barrels the wine aged in was predominantly about 70% older oak, so there's not obvious oak notes. They are very well integrated here. There may just be hints of underlying vanilla, but I'm having to look for those. In fact, what's more to the fore, there's a slight note of salinity, some mineral notes. The acidity is fresh enough to give life to the fruit, but it's not sharp or harsh. Even with the malolactic conversion blocked, this isn't a tart wine at all. It's wonderfully harmonious with a beautiful, sort of medium to full-bodied, rounded texture. I was a little surprised when I saw a Wine Search aggregated critic score that this vintage had got 96 out of 100. But actually, as I'm tasting it now, I'm finding so much more in there. There are mealy notes, and the creaminess is just starting to show some really delicate toasty notes from the oak coming through. Everything is so harmoniously together. So now I'm quite Now I'm starting to see more of what the critics have seen in this wine. So its quality does need to be seen in the context of its price. But just as a final note to that quality, I can still taste it. There's still a clean freshness in my mouth from the acidity that's just allowing some of the notes of pea pod, asparagus, cut grass and passion fruit to continue rolling on my palate. It's a wine with presence, elegance and subtlety. Given the warmth of the vintage, that's actually quite an impressive combination. So thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, do please press the like button. We'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to watch more of these videos, it would be fantastic if you'd consider subscribing to our channel and following us. That way you can set yourself a notification and you can be alerted every time we publish a new video. If you have friends you think would like to watch the video, we'd be really gratified if you pass it on to them. That would be fantastic. If you have any comments, please pop them in the comments box below. I'd love to hear what you think about the wines we're talking about, the tastings we're doing, or anything else that relates to that. So once again, thank you for joining us, and I do hope you'll manage to make some time and come and join us for another tasting in the very near future. Thanks again. Bye for now.